On Halloween night, 1977, America gathered around for a live TV event that shocked a nation.
Hello, welcome to Brojo617 Presents What Did I Just Watch? I am Brojo617, and today we are talking about Late Night with the Devil.
Oh, good evening, night owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again.
Late Night with the Devil is a 2023, I believe it's late 2023, early 2024 horror movie. The movie itself is 93 minutes long.
Conversations with the Devil.
This is directed by Cameron and Colin Carnes. They didn't have any other films out there that I recognized that I had seen, so I'll have to go out and take a look at some of their work and see what else they have out there. The movie stars David Dastmalchian. I think I pronounced that name right. Not really sure. He's been in Oppenheimer. He was in Dune Part 1. He was also in the Suicide Squad as, I think, Polka Dots. Can't remember the character's name. But this is actually his first real starring role in a movie. What is the movie about? David Dastmalchian stars as Jack Delroy, who is a TV show host back in the 70s. He is a talk show host, trying to compete with Johnny Carson, basically trying to catch up to him and his stardom. Never quite gets to that point. The movie begins with about a 5-minute background on Jack Delroy, the TV host, his life, his trials and tribulations with the TV show, and constantly trying to compete with Johnny Carson, even though he's not on that level. It also goes into talking about his wife, who recently passed away from cancer after having never smoked a day in her life, which is odd. Once they get into the movie, it's treated like a found footage movie. It's the film found for Jack Delroy's last TV show. His show was called Night Owls. It's the last airing of his show. It was on Halloween of 1977. Because it's Halloween, Jack brings on 3 primary guests. The first one is a psychic. He's one of those, I hear a name coming to me from someone in the crowd, and then he asks everybody if they recognize the name, and then eventually someone, he'll say Pam, and then someone eventually says Peter, and he's like, yeah, Peter, that's it. One of those guys. The second guest is someone who basically makes a living debunking things like the psychic, supernatural, anything like that. He comes on the show, and I think he has a check for $500,000 if they can prove him wrong and prove that some of this stuff is real. The last guests are a doctor and a little girl that is, one is the author and the other is a subject of a book called Conversations with the Devil, and it is about the little girl being possessed by a demon. So he brought them onto this show. Little background, this show is his last hurrah. It's kind of his last hope to get his ratings up and then to get the show basically carried forward so that it can continue to go on. So he's kind of pulling out all the stops on this Halloween night show. What did I think about the show? I really, really love this show. I watched it first a couple months back before I actually started the channel. And I watched it again this week just to kind of refresh my memory about it. It was shot in 4:3 aspect ratio, which definitely gives it this the feel of a 1977 TV show. The way they treat it is they call it found footage of the show. So they're showing you the show, and you're basically watching the show as it happens like an audience member would. And then as they go to commercial break, they kind of interdisperse these black and white clips that are footage of Jack's character interacting with the other characters backstage during the commercial breaks. And it kind of gives you a little insight into the charming character he is on screen, and then, the different type of character. Not really a lot less charming, but just a different type of attitude that he has as he interacts with his coworkers behind the scenes. So with the movie being about the TV show, the first guest comes on. He's the psychic. He does his little crowd work thing, and then he starts to not feel well. There's, a lot that happens with that. At the same time, they bring on the second guest, who's the guy that's out there to debunk what the psychic is doing, and they have a little bit of a conflict, and then, something happens with the psychic that you're really kind of not expecting, and that becomes part of the story as the movie moves on. The final 30 minutes of the movie is really where a ton of action happens. The guy who debunks the supernatural is really fighting with the people that, are out there. The psychic, for one, that psychic has since left the show. The doctor that comes out with the possessed little girl, they get into this whole thing, and then as the movie goes on in the last half hour, the demon, or devil, maybe, since the title is Late Night with the Devil, really starts to take over the girl, and then, without giving everything away, just absolute chaos ensues. And then towards the end, there's some parts of the show where, it kind of gives some background on how Jack got to where he is, why this show is being successful. There's some background story about, these people that hold power. We hear about it these days in real life, right? Like people talking about the Illuminati and people that hold power, and they can either make someone famous or they can make someone not famous, and they can make them disappear. And the movie itself is really kind of about the lengths someone would go to become famous and wealthy and powerful, and what some of the possible impacts of that would be. What did I rate the movie? Like I said, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I gave it 4.5 WTFs out of 5. There were definitely some WTF moments in the movie where you're watching it and wondering, WTF just happened? The special effects in some spots could be better, but I didn't take much away from that. The movie itself is only 93 minutes, so it's short, it's quick, it moves pretty fast, so it keeps going. You don't really notice the time going by, which is always important for me. I know that if I'm looking at the clock wondering how there's still 45 minutes left to a movie, it's not something I'm going to enjoy as much, and that definitely doesn't happen here. If you haven't seen this movie, I would suggest you go out and take a look at it. I would love it if you would come back and leave a comment or let me know what you thought of the movie. I think it was on Letterboxd rated 3, like a 3.4, something like that. So I might have loved it more than other people would have, but at the same time, it was very, very enjoyable, and that's mostly what I saw in the commentary about the movie. That is my review of Late Night with the Devil. If you liked this review, please give a like or subscribe, or like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Any suggestions you have of any movies coming out or any upcoming movies that you think I might be interested in, I welcome the commentary. So thank you, and I will see you in a couple weeks.
Late Night with the Devil.